A warm welcome to TV Africa News and thank you for always joining us. This is Africa Today. My name is Najuma Luima, but first are the headlines. Government is ready to assist EU with funds, Museveni tells Ugandans in United Arab Emirates. Agriculture Minister Tumwebaze defends Uganda's Dubai Expo exhibition. Libya kicks off construction of oil refinery. And in sports, Mwemezi Mpanga among loaned out players at Viper Sports Club. A warm welcome once again, now the news in detail. President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni has made and held discussions with the executive leaders of Ugandans living and working in the United Arab Emirates. Under their umbrella, the Association of Ugandans Living in United Arab Emirates, their group chairperson Nsubuga Abdul Bast led the executive to the meeting with the president. We have more.
Speaking to the leaders of the association, the president told them that government is ready to support them financially by putting money in their circle where members can save and borrow at a very small interest. Responding to their concerns of the increasing numbers of Ugandans being trafficked in the UAE, the president assured them that government has already discussed this and agreed to strengthen laws governing movements of people outside the country. The president advised these leaders to invite Ugandans living in the UAE to register with the association at a fee which will enable them run the activities of the association. There are over 60,000 Ugandans living and working in the United Arab Emirates, and they send home over $200 million every year, according to the ambassador of Uganda in UAE, Zake Chibedi. The chairperson of the Association of Ugandans Living and Working in UAE, Nsubuga Abdul Basit, thanked President Museveni for visiting them. They reported to the president an increasing number of Ugandans trafficked in the UAE and requested for support to be able to monitor them, and they helped them where necessary. The group chairperson told the president that in the past, cases of Ugandans committing suicide of poor working conditions were high, but noted they have greatly reduced. Reporting for TV Africa News, Nahawe Kajura.
The Minister for Agriculture, Frank Tumwebaze, has defended Uganda's exhibition at the ongoing Dubai Expo in the United Arab Emirates, saying the country is winning over new investors. Uganda joined at least 190 countries to showcase its tourism and investment opportunities potential at the Dubai Expo 2020 that is underway in Dubai. Agriculture Minister Tumwebaze says Uganda has benefited from the expo.
Since Sunday afternoon, social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter have been awash by criticism, with Ugandans saying that the country's pavilion at the expo is embarrassing. In a tweet, Tumwebaze said that the expo is largely a business-to-business showcase and Uganda has already made several wins. Minister Tumwebaze added that on Sunday, in the presence of President Museveni, his sector agriculture concluded with the night's biggest agro-processor to construct a modern tea factory in southwestern Uganda. Tumwebaze said that it is sad that while the country is making progress, some Ugandans are mourning on social media. Uganda joined at least 190 countries to showcase its tourism and investment opportunities potential at the Dubai Expo 2020 that is underway in Dubai. The expo will last for 6 months until March 2022. Ugandans online had a field day, making fun and critiquing the Ugandan showcase, which included lattle milk boxes and tea at the exhibition. President Museveni, in his speech at the expo, talked about Uganda as a country ready to welcome investors, owning to a huge market and a young huge population.
Schools have reopened in the Democratic Republic of Congo, but the threat of teachers' strike looms large on the horizon. If it goes ahead, the strike will seriously compromise the provision of free primary education, a project launched by President Felix Tshisekedi in September 2019.
Despite the threat of strike, For many parents, the reopening represents a step in the right direction. Florence, a parent, said that the first day of school this year is better than the previous one, where a number of students have returned to school despite the COVID-19 difficulties they experienced last year. Teachers reclaim better salaries and better conditions. Unlike in the past, parents no longer pay teachers directly. Instead, the salaries are paid by the government. Jean-Claude Mulombe, vice principal of Gombe Primary School, defended the teachers that they want to support the lift of school fees while they wait for their promised salary. Experts estimate that the cost of providing free education reaches $2.64 billion a year. DRC's yearly budget is estimated at $7 billion.
Let's take a very quick short break. We will be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching TV Africa News, the right to know. The Central African livestock market, situated 45 kilometers north of Central Africa Republic's capital, Bangui, is one of the most important in the region, which helps young people earn money by moving the cattle to the trucks that will then head to the slaughterhouses. We have more on this report.
Cattle arriving at the Central African livestock market comes from as far as neighboring countries such as Chad and Sudan, either via traditional routes or by road in trucks. The market is a bustling hub of activity. Young people earn money by moving the cattle to the trucks that will then head to the slaughterhouses. Christ, a young cattle driver working at the cattle market, said that he works on arrival days with his numerous bosses and can transport between 15 and 16 oxen and earns about 5, 6 or 7,000 francs per day. This is a very profitable sector of activity for the national economy too, because sellers and dealers pay taxes to the government for each animal that the Ministry of Livestock represented on the site. The taxes are estimated at several million CFA francs per month, according to the ministry. Emmanuel Namkois, cabinet director at the Ministry of Livestock, said that the livestock sector contributes 45% of the poultry GDP and 15% of the national GDP, which simply means that its contribution to the national economy is not negligible at all. Once the livestock is brought to the slaughterhouse, it is examined by the hygiene services before being slaughtered and delivered to the markets in Bangui and its surroundings.
Moving on, Libya on Sunday said work has begun on the construction of an oil refinery in the south of the conflict-ridden desert country. The project will cost between $500 million and $600 million and become operational within 3 years, according to the head of Libya's state oil company, Mustafa Sanada. He said an annual income of $75 million was expected.
Speaking at a ceremony in the capital Tripoli, Libyan leader Abdelhamid Deiba said that the project is important and an effective start of construction of a refinery in the south. The refinery will be built near Al-Charara, a major oil field in the Obari region, which produces an average of some 300,000 barrels of oil a day. Announced in the early 1980s, the project for a refinery in southern Libya had been put on hold for years before being revived in 2017. Libya, which has the most abundant oil reserves in Africa, has been trying to emerge from a decade of chaos since the fall of Muammar Gaddafi's government in 2011. Libya was gripped by violence and political turmoil in the aftermath of the NATO-backed uprising against Gaddafi. In recent years, the country has been split between two rival administrations backed by foreign powers and myriad militias.
Away from that, a human rights worker for the Norwegian Refugee Council claims that up to 5,000 refugees may have been detained in Libya since Friday. The allegations were made on Sunday following a crackdown on Friday by the Libyan police force against migrants, and comes at a time when the Norwegian Refugee Council claimed thousands of migrants have been detained in Libya.
Alexandra Say, Libya advocacy manager for the Norwegian Refugee Council, said that this was the largest crackdown on migrants in Libya that they have seen in recent years. He added that this was not the first time that there have been large numbers of arrests. They have seen this happen a bit in a smaller scale over the last few weeks and months and over the course of the year. According to the UN, the operation resulted in at least one dead migrant and 15 injured. The Libyan authorities claimed at least 4,000 detentions, including women and children. The Libyan Interior Ministry described the crackdown as a security operation against illegal migrants and drug trafficking. Alexandra Say said that this was a wake-up call to the dire situation that exists in Libya for migrants and refugees, and the international community urged high-income countries, particularly those in Europe, to step up and do more. Since the fall of Muammar Gaddafi's regime in 2011, that Libya has become a major transit point into Europe for migrants escaping war and famine in Africa and Middle East.
Let's once again take a very quick short break. We will be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching TV Africa News, the right to know. In our business news today, Egypt's president and Sudanese interim leader met in Paris on Sunday ahead of a conference on how to help Sudanese struggling economy. Both leaders are attending the talks about Sudan, which began on Monday.
The conference is meant to drum up investment and financing for the country as it manages an economic crisis following years of international isolation due to US sanctions. The leaders will also attend an economic conference for African leaders, which will have a focus on how to revive the continent's economy post-coronavirus pandemic. The pairs meeting also comes as Egypt tries to help mediate an end to the escalating conflict in Gaza and Israel. Sudan is hoping to maximize its visit to France to wipe out a staggering $60 billion foreign debt bill this year by securing relief and deals at the Paris conference. Sudan Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok has already settled the World Bank arrears, those of the African Development Bank, and in Paris they hope to settle the International Monetary Fund arrears. Arrears due to the African Development Bank were cleared through a bridging loan worth $425 million from Sweden, Britain and Ireland, while debts to the World Bank were paid off with a $1.1 billion bridging loan from the United States. Hamdok took office at the head of a transitional government shortly after the 2019 ouster of President Omar al-Bashir, whose three-decade iron-fisted rule was marked by economic hardship, deep internal conflicts, and biting international sanctions.
In our health news today, in an attempt to curb the growing COVID-19 cases and increase inoculation rates against the virus, the government of Togo has launched the vaccination cards, which can help people get legalized copy of their birth certificates and access other services.
Togo motor taxi driver Kosigan Fanji was twice barred from entering his local town hall to try to access his documents because he failed to present a COVID-19 vaccine card. Fadi joined the rush of Togolese getting the jab after his small West African nation on Friday became the latest to ban access to certain public places for people with no COVID-19 vaccination. The passes, while are already in place in several European countries, will be difficult to establish in the country of 8 million people that has so far received around 1.6 million doses of vaccines. On Wednesday afternoon, a long queue was seen outside a clinic in Dumasese, a popular neighborhood of Lom. A hospital staffer said they are really overwhelmed since Saturday for vaccinating at least 6,000 people a day, while before they were vaccinating between 150 and 200. Honore Yao, a 21-year-old student, said he went to get his shot, mostly to get the card since he was applying for a passport and vaccination card was one of the requirements to enter the passport office. On Tuesday, the government extended the state of health emergency, allowing it broader powers to tackle outbreaks. Places of worship, bars and nightclubs are closed, and cultural, political and sporting events banned. Opposition member Nathaniel Olympio said that imposing a pass to access public buildings is unconstitutional and only happens under regimes that only know use of force. Togo has so far recorded 23,947,000 coronavirus cases and 208 deaths, but numbers are estimated to be higher because of a lack of testing.
In our sports news today, newly crowned Stanbic Uganda Cup winners Vipers Sports Club confirmed the status of their players' business in the domestic transfer window. The Venoms, four-time Uganda Premier League champions, signed, promoted, loaned and released a couple of players. We have more on this story.
For starters, only 2 players were ruled on board: goalkeeper Jack Komakech and midfielder Bright Anukani. 2 other junior players, goalkeeper Mutwalib Mugolofa and creative gem Ivan Ashaba, were promoted to the senior team. Forward Brian Kalumba was loaned to Jinja-based newly promoted UPL entity Gaddafi, having spent last season also on loan at Uganda People's Defence Forces Football Club. Forward Sulampanga has also been loaned to Gaddafi, and young defender Ahmed Amayo is at Ondu Paraka. Another striker, Dennis Mwemezi, was loaned to newly promoted Toro United Football Club. Forward Muhammad Shaban, Abraham Ndugwa, goalkeeper Bashir Sekaja, and towering defender Rashid Toha left the club after serving their respective tenures on the employment contracts. Shaban is now back at parent club Ondu Paraka. Ndugwa traveled to Serbia. Sekaja is still unemployed, and Toha is back in West Nile at Arua Hill Sports Club. On the tentative fixtures released, Vipers will commence on the 2021-2022 StarTimes Uganda Premier League season on the road against the 2005 League champions Police at the MTN Omondi Stadium, Lugogo in Kampala. For starters, Vipers has won the Uganda Premier League trophy on 4 fronts: 2010, 2015, 2018 and 2020.
Now, before we end our news bulletin today, let's take a recap of our top stories. Government is ready to assist EU with funds, Museveni tells Ugandans in United Arab Emirates. Agriculture Minister Tumwebaze defends Uganda's Dubai Expo exhibition. Libya kicks off construction of oil refinery. And in sports, Mwemezi Mpanga among loaned out players at Viper Sports Club. That was the news. Thank you for always keeping it TV Africa. Please do stay tuned. More programming coming your way.